The world is watching as a trade war escalates between the United States and its closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico. What began as targeted tariffs has spiraled into a tit-for-tat exchange of trade barriers. This conflict has sent shockwaves through global markets and left many wondering, what happens next? This trade war is about more than just dollars and cents. It's about the future of global trade, the relationships between nations, and the livelihoods of millions of people. The decisions made in the coming weeks and months will have far-reaching consequences. In early 2025, the Trump administration announced a series of tariffs on goods imported from around the world. This move was part of a broader strategy to reshape the global trade landscape and assert American economic dominance. The administration argued that these tariffs were necessary to level the playing field for American businesses, which they claimed had been unfairly disadvantaged by international trade practices for years. These tariffs, essentially taxes on imported goods, were aimed at protecting American industries and jobs. The administration believed that by making imported goods more expensive, American consumers and businesses would be more likely to buy domestically produced products. This, in turn, was expected to boost domestic manufacturing and create jobs in industries that had been struggling to compete with cheaper foreign imports. Among the hardest hit were Canada and Mexico, two of America's largest trading partners. The tariffs disrupted long-standing trade relationships and created uncertainty for businesses that relied on cross-border supply chains. Canadian and Mexican companies faced higher costs for exporting their goods to the United States, which threatened their competitiveness and profitability. The U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum from both countries. These metals are critical components in a wide range of industries from construction to automotive manufacturing. The tariffs led to increased costs for American companies that used steel and aluminum in their products, which some critics argued would ultimately be passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Additionally, a new 25% tariff on all foreign-made vehicles was announced, set to take effect in April. This move was particularly controversial as it targeted a major sector of the global economy. Many foreign automakers have significant manufacturing operations in the United States, and the tariffs threatened to disrupt their business models and supply chains. The auto industry warned that the tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers and potential job losses in both the U.S. and abroad. These actions were met with swift condemnation and promises of retaliation from both Canada and Mexico. Leaders from both countries argued that the tariffs were unjustified and harmful to the global economy. They vowed to take measures to protect their own industries and workers, including imposing their own tariffs on American goods. The escalating trade tensions raised concerns about the potential for a full-blown trade war, which could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney responded forcefully to the U.S. tariffs. He called the tariffs unacceptable and a threat to the Canadian economy. Carney announced retaliatory tariffs on a range of U.S. products including steel, aluminum, and agricultural goods. The total value of Canadian tariffs on U.S. goods is estimated to be around $20 billion. Carney also took the unprecedented step of declaring the U.S.-Canada relationship over, signaling a potential shift in Canadian foreign policy away from its traditional reliance on the United States. Mexico, under the leadership of President Claudia Sheinbaum, joined Canada in condemning the U.S. tariffs. Sheinbaum called the tariffs unfair and harmful to the Mexican economy. Like Canada, Mexico announced retaliatory tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, including agricultural products, steel, and cheese. These tariffs are strategically designed to target U.S. industries and political strongholds, increasing the pressure on the Trump administration to reconsider its actions. The strong response from both Canada and Mexico took many by surprise, demonstrating the resolve of both nations to protect their interests. The escalating trade war has sent shockwaves through global markets. Stock markets around the world experienced significant drops in response to the tariffs and the threat of further escalation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, a key indicator of U.S. stock market performance, fell by over 700 points in a single day. Investors are worried about the impact of the trade war on corporate profits and global economic growth. The uncertainty surrounding the trade dispute has also led to increased volatility in currency markets. Section 6. The U.S. economy braces for impact. While the Trump administration argues that the tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries, many economists warn that they could have the opposite effect. Tariffs increase the cost of imported goods, which can lead to higher prices for consumers and businesses. This, in turn, can reduce consumer spending and slow economic growth. Additionally, the tariffs have sparked fears of a trade war, which could further disrupt global trade and harm the U.S. economy. Section 7. A world on edge. The trade war between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico has implications that extend far beyond North America. This conflict, which began with tariffs and counter-tariffs, has now evolved into a complex web of economic and political tensions. The ripple effects are being felt in markets and industries around the world, from Asia to Europe, and even in emerging economies. The dispute has created uncertainty in the global trading system and raised concerns about protectionism. Investors are wary, and stock markets have shown increased volatility. Businesses are finding it difficult to plan for the future as the rules of international trade seem to be in constant flux. This uncertainty is not just affecting large corporations but also small and medium-sized enterprises that rely on stable trade policies. Other countries, including China and members of the European Union, are closely watching the situation and may be forced to take sides or risk getting caught in the crossfire. The stakes are high, as these nations must balance their economic interests with their political alliances. The potential for new alliances and rivalries is significant, and the global balance of power could shift dramatically. The trade war has also put a strain on diplomatic relations between the U.S. and its allies. Long-standing partnerships are being tested as countries navigate this new landscape. Diplomatic meetings have become more tense, and the usual camaraderie among allied nations is giving way to suspicion and caution. The impact on international cooperation is profound, affecting not just trade, but also security and environmental agreements. Canada and Mexico have expressed their disappointment and frustration with the Trump administration's actions. Both countries have been vocal in their opposition, holding press conferences and engaging in diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict. Protests have erupted in various cities, with citizens demanding an end to the tariffs that they believe are unfair and harmful to their economies. The dispute has made it more difficult to address other important issues. With so much focus on the trade war, other critical areas such as climate change, global health, and international security are being neglected. The world is on edge, and the need for effective leadership and cooperation has never been more urgent. As nations grapple with these challenges, the hope is that dialogue and diplomacy will eventually prevail, leading to a more stable and prosperous global community. Section 8. The future of trade hangs in the balance. As the world watches closely, the stakes have never been higher. The intricate web of international trade is facing unprecedented challenges, and the decisions made in the coming days will have far-reaching implications. The outcome of this trade war remains uncertain. Businesses around the globe are holding their breath, as the ripple effects of these negotiations could impact everything from stock markets to everyday consumer prices. The uncertainty is palpable, and the tension is mounting. Will the Trump administration be willing to negotiate a compromise with Canada and Mexico? The stakes are high, and the pressure is on. Each side has its own set of demands and red lines, making the path to a mutually beneficial agreement fraught with difficulty. Or will the situation continue to escalate, leading to a full-blown trade war with devastating consequences for all involved? The potential for economic disruption is enormous, and the human cost could be significant, affecting jobs, livelihoods, and entire industries. The coming weeks and months will be crucial in determining the future of trade relations between these three nations. Key dates are marked on calendars, and every meeting, every discussion, could tip the balance one way or the other. The world is watching and waiting to see if diplomacy and cooperation will prevail, or if the hardline stances will lead to a breakdown in negotiations. The media is abuzz with speculation, and the public is eager for any sign of progress, or if the global trading system will be reshaped by conflict and protectionism. The stakes are not just economic but also geopolitical, as the balance of power and influence could shift dramatically depending on the outcome of these negotiations. The future of trade truly hangs in the balance. Section 9. Conclusion. A test of wills. The trade war that has erupted between the US, Canada, and Mexico is a test of wills with far-reaching consequences. The outcome of this dispute will have a significant impact on the global economy, the future of trade relations, and the political landscape. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the world is watching closely, and the stakes have never been higher.